You knock on the door 3 times. You yell at his name 3 times. And if you see him, you run like hell. Everyone knew about Old Man Murray's. It was one of those hometown legends that every single town in the continental United States has. Legends that develop out of people's fascination with the paranormal. That and boredom. It was a local tradition to go out to Old Man Murray's and try to catch a glimpse of the ghost that supposedly lurked out there. Guys would bring girls out there, hoping to scare the pants off of them. It was in an old shack west of town on the old highway. It sat about 500 yards from the road at the end of a worn-down path. The path meandered through brush and crooked trees. Nothing too scary, considering that it was just nature. Rabbits still darted out of the bushes, birds still chirped, the sun still shone through the limbs of the trees. The legends say that Old Man Murray was a shut-in who lived in the old shack alone. He ran a still back here during Prohibition and made a killing. He didn't spend the money. He still lived in the same old shack. One night, a group of fellas came to Murray's looking for some booze and trouble. They had heard about the money and figured it would be easy to rob an old moonshiner. Things went bad, and in the end, Old Man Murray lay robbed and murdered. Now you can visit his shack and look for Old Man Murray's ghost. There's a trick to arousing the ghost fear of you and pleasure. You knock on the door 3 times. You yell at his name 3 times. And if you see him, you run like hell. Leland lived on his daddy's farm alone. His daddy had been dead for 10 years, and naturally the place went to Leland. He kept the place up for the first year, but after that he let it go to shit. It was just 50 acres, and there were no more crops or cows. Old rusted cars sat parked in his yard, yellow weeds growing tall around them. Several 55-gallon drums were scattered around the house, filled with beer cans and miscellaneous junk. The paint was peeling from the white frame house. The front porch sagged and the wood was rotted through in places. Leland worked in a light bulb factory in town, making enough money to live and drive a fairly new Chevy pickup truck. He would get off work and go to the bar and shoot the bull. Sometimes he would turn in on his CB and listen for a truck stop hooker. He had to get his living somewhere. Other times, he would sit out at home alone out on his front porch. He'd sit in a rickety lawn chair with an ice chest by his side, drinking beer from cans, watching the sun sink down over the hills and trees, the orange rays blinding him. Life was simple. Billy Ferguson was dating one of the best-looking girls at school, Chelsea Witzel. She was also the most hard to lay. They'd been dating for 3 months, and he still couldn't get into her pants. He waxed tragic with all the other guys about how prude and boring she was, and they told him that surely he could get some. After all, hadn't Brandon Larkey came to school one Monday bragging about how he'd tapped it, how he was a genuine stud? Surely it wasn't a lost cause for Billy. He was already making plans for this weekend. He felt that this was the one that he'd finally go the distance with Chelsea. He had seen how she'd been touching him lately, looking at him with those eyes. She wants it, Billy told himself. Billy had it all together. He'd put a new condom in his wallet, worrying that the one he'd kept in there had gone bad after the 3 months of misuse. Halloween was coming, and he'd planned on taking her to the local haunt, Old Man Murray's, and getting her good and scared. She'd expressed interest about going, and he figured, why not? He could take her out to the shack for 15 or so minutes, and then they could be on their way. It seemed like a good plan. Their headlights skimmed over the old highway as they looked for the turnoff. The sun was completely gone, and what little light was left was just an afterthought. Billy was anxious, maybe a little scared. But that was okay because Chelsea was too, and she clung to him. Leland, more than a little tipsy from his trip to the bar, reached for the stereo and fiddled with it. He was a little too loose, a little too careless, and when he felt the road getting rougher, he looked up to see himself a nanosecond away from the bar ditch. He slammed the brakes with little effect, and he was thrown all over the cab. When he recovered, his head was aching and his windshield cracked. He'd broken off the rearview mirror with his head. He stumbled out of his truck to assess the damage. There was no way he could just pop it in reverse and back out of the ditch. The rear wheels were completely off the ground, and the front of the truck was dipped down in the ditch. The grill bashed to hell. Leyland muttered profanities to himself and shut the truck off. He leaned up against his truck and waited around for someone to come through. Headlights appeared over the small incline. They didn't make it over. He saw the vehicle, an SUV, turn off to the side of the road. He realized it was Halloween, and he also realized he was near Old Man Murray's shack. It was probably just some damn kids going to chase ghosts. Them damn kids always had cell phones. He could make his way down there and call a tow truck or something. It wasn't completely dark yet, and there was about half a moon. He would have no trouble finding them. But he'd also heard about them satanic bastards that went out there. He didn't want to go out there and come upon a devil-worshipping party. He didn't want to become a sacrifice tonight. He went back to his truck and got the shotgun that he kept behind his seat, just in case. Billy pulled up to the clearing where the shack was, and his headlights hit the building. It was creepy at night, the windows dark, everything quiet. Chelsea was ready to go as soon as she saw the shack, but Billy was feeling brave and in a playful mood. He wanted to scare Chelsea a little. It was pretty much her idea to come out here. He got out to knock on the door and yelled Murray's name 3 times. Chelsea was going to wait in the car, but hesitantly she got out and stood in the headlights glow, watching. Bill laughed at her being scared and made his way to the door and knocked 3 times. He yelled out, "Old Man Murray! Old Man Murray! Old Man Murray!" He waited. Nothing happened. No chains rattled. No dead moonshiners appeared. Nothing at all. "See it, Chelsea? It's just an urban legend or something. Every single town has one. There's no such thing as ghosts." Leland could tell there was a girl and a boy. The girl was fine looking, too, he observed as he got close. It had been so long since he was somewhere where he didn't have to pay for it. Bad thoughts filled his brain. Something cold rose within him. It was something that had always been there. That boy and that girl. They'd soon know. They'd know like that whore up in the city. They'd know like that man from Texas in the bar that one night. They'd know like the state trooper that had pulled him over on a Kansas highway. All of those hitchhikers. Leland's head was aching and ringing, partly from the alcohol, partly from the wreck, partly from something else. Billy saw a man walking towards them, carrying a shotgun. Billy ran towards Chelsea and grabbed her. He was about to get her in the car, but then realized everything was hopeless. The man had the gun aimed right at him. "I wouldn't move if I were you, son," the man said. Chelsea and Billy turned towards him, squinting because the headlights were in their eyes. Chelsea saw the gun and looked at Billy, then looked at the ground. She began to cry silently. Old man, Old man Murray? Billy stammered. The man laughed a long time at this. It made them uneasy. No, kid. There ain't no such thing as ghosts. Just things that are much worse. The shotgun was steady in his hand.